because, it's all the excitement at the beginning. You've got the crowd and everyone's cheering, and especially if you're doing Paris or London or another big city, they've got a lot of people there. There's just the excitement about it.
Yeah.
I suppose it's if once you kind of start really wanting a time with everything else, that's kind of when you have to go, right, actually I've got to get my head in the game here to run in a certain way.
And I've started to get better at doing that, definitely, the more races I've done. And it's just, you get more experience. The more races you do, you get more experience, and you get your pacing a bit better, definitely.
So that was Paris.
Yeah.
What happened next?
So after Paris, I think it would have been the Stockholm Marathon. So another one to kind of visit another city.
Oh, wow.
That was 4 minutes quicker, so 3 hours 44. Then I did New York, that was a great one. So the crowd in New York was absolutely amazing. The Americans just absolutely love it. So I remember going over some of the bridges, and you can literally hear the roar of the crowd from the other side of the bridge, and it just makes you want to run quicker because you can hear them cheering. So that was a good one. That was 3 hours 36, so got slightly quicker again. And
when you did the New York Marathon, I mean, what parts of New York were you running through? Because I can only imagine when I did London all those years ago, it was deep with people, like really deep, and 4 or 5 people deep, and I can only imagine in America it was just that times 10. With all the noise and actually when I ran the London Marathon all those years ago, I didn't actually use headphones that day. Normally it's always, but the crowd was so loud. I was like, actually, I'm going to listen to the crowd. I imagine New York was kind of similar to that.
Definitely. That's another thing for not listening to the music, is taking in the crowd. When you hear your name getting cheered, whether you've got it on your T-shirt or it's nowadays they tend to have your name on your kind of bib number. If you hear your name being cheered, then it automatically perks you up a bit. That's another good thing in the last bit, when in a big event, when you hear your name being cheered, that does help when you're struggling. It does get you through it. So with New York, you kind of go through all the different districts, really. So you go through the Bronx, Harlem, Brooklyn. You go through all those different areas. It starts on Staten Island. So you actually have to get a coach out to the island. That was one that was really tough preparation wise. Obviously,
you're also contending with a flight as well.
So you're contending with the flight and change of kind of body clock. It was a really early start. You had to go on these coaches out to the Staten Island, and they said that they were going to lay on breakfast actually when you get there. And I just remember there's queues of all these coaches going. You're stuck in a queue, and then you're thinking, well, how are we going to get the breakfast? And when you get there, there were bagels, but literally they were just like plain bagels, nothing on them. So really dry, not ideal. And then they had some kind of like energy bars and things. But preparation food wise before that wasn't particularly great. And then also it was quite a cold day. And then you get there early, you're waiting around, and it's just kind of chaos, to be honest. It's I don't know if it was the same for you at London in terms of amount of people and you're waiting around.
There's so many people around and everyone needs the toilet. And you're thinking, we've got to run in 5 minutes or 6 minutes, and everyone needs the toilet. Everyone's a little bit nervous.
So it makes you need the toilet even more. And so it's always kind of chaotic before a marathon. And
so what's the ideal preparation? Because in this situation, we're talking about Paris, talking about New York. You've had to travel. You're staying overnight the night before. You're probably getting up early to then go and run. What is the best sort of preparation and nutrition? Probably is what we're talking about, really. What's the best nutrition? Because no doubt on the day, then it's going to be slightly different to that. So ideally, what would you like to be eating that day?
So ideally for me, because like I said earlier, it really is. It's individual. It's what works for you. So you've got to practice all these things before your long runs and find out what works for you. and stick to it, really. That's the key. Never change things on the day of a big event, because that's where a lot of people go wrong is, they've done all their training runs, they've eaten certain things, and then on the day they just completely change it. I've been told to eat this and that, and they'll have that, and then it just doesn't agree with their body or their tummy. But yeah, so for me, I tend to either have some porridge, or I do have bagels, but with peanut butter on. I always drink kind of water in the morning, and then I might have a glass of orange juice as well. But yeah, you definitely want to have a decent breakfast and try and have it a couple of hours before the event, 2.5 hours before. And then for me, what I tend to have that last hour before, I will have like a banana as well. And yeah, just basically get your carbs in, and just so because you don't want to be completely full, and that's why you want to eat it a couple of hours before. But yeah, you need that energy for starting the race.
What about the day before? And you mentioned before when you were doing that half before, you've got to try and get it right the day before. Yeah. Are you changing your nutrition any way the day before? Extra carbs or?
So I wouldn't go crazy like eating loads of carbs, like stuffing in loads of pasta and rice. That's what some people do. But yeah, I would definitely make sure I'm well hydrated, drinking plenty of water. That's the key time, is the day before, getting your water in. Because if you try and do it the morning, just have loads of water, then you're just going to end up kind of like you've said earlier, needing the toilet. It's just all going to come out. So you're better off the day before having sips of water throughout the day, keep it coming in, and so you're well hydrated. And in terms of like what they call like the carbo loading, I would just I would actually say, if you're going to have a big meal like that, have it. Say the race is on a Sunday, I'd have it the Friday night. Okay. Actually have that, because that will still stay in your system for the day. But I tend to, the night before, for me, what works is I tend to have a spaghetti bolognese. That works well. But yeah, kind of a fairly plain kind of pasta dish, sometimes a carbonara or something, that works for me. But like I say, yeah, just don't change what your normal. If you've done some good training, you've done your good runs, try not to change it on the day or the night before, because that's when things can start to go wrong. And it's the same with kit as well. If you've trained with certain kit throughout your training, like certain trainers, don't be tempted to change or buy new trainers for the actual day, because then you might end up getting blisters, or you haven't worn them in. So that's definitely, you've got to stick to what you've trained with and done well with, really.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because you've got to, it's like you said, it's all the things that you've been training with, it's just keeping it the same.
Yeah. And
I suppose I don't know, there might be an instinct to think, oh, this is the special day, I'm going to use the special trainers, oh, actually, I'm really looking forward to that, I'm going to have this different breakfast. But of course, it is about actually keeping everything as simple as possible, and everything is similar to all your rubber running days.
Yeah.